All right, so it's the first episode of the week. You know what that means? Let's break down the newest episode of The Mandalorian. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
So this one is going to not be streamed today. I don't know what the hell's wrong with my internet. Like, I just checked, my upload speed is garbage. So I'm just gonna record this one and I'll load it, and hopefully it'll load by the end of the night. I'm just gonna have this thing up on the internet, load by itself, and hopefully it'll work out. So fingers crossed you may get this by tomorrow, because I have no idea what the hell's going on with my uploading. It happens really late at night. I don't know why, but I don't know. I'll talk to my internet provider later. But before that's actually not neither here nor there. But before I get into it, let me just give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Also, when my internet isn't failing, I try to upload and live stream these episodes. You can find those on Twitch at Super Dario World and on YouTube at Super Dario World. Or when it happens that uploads don't work, or that I can't live stream, you can find all these videos on YouTube at Super Dario World. So let's get into it, because it was kind of an exciting episode, and particularly for one particular reason, and I'll get to it. But let's see, this is episode 3 of The Mandalorian. Let me just get this a little bit. There you go. And this chapter is 13, and it's called The Heiress. Now, who is the Heiress? Well, let's go into the new characters that were introduced this episode. And honestly, there's only one that matters here, and I'm talking about the one, the only Bogutan. Now, for those of you who don't know, she is the heiress in this particular episode. Now, Bogutan is an interesting character. Let's just say she's Mandalorian leadership, royalty in a way. She's a Mandalorian. She's leader of the Mandalorians, or former leader of the Mandalorians, I guess you can say it. I'll get into her a little bit more in the Mandalorian. So I mean, when I break down the fun fact, because who else could it be? Honestly, who else could it be? I've been waiting for this character to show up for a really long time, because I'm hoping that she will have a lot of answers to a lot of questions that I have. So let's just get into it. Let's go down to the summary, and just give me a quick little second here. I need to move some stuff around. All right, so the episode begins with exactly where the previous one left off, where the Racer Crest barely being able to fly across space, but they happen to make it to the correct planet on time. You know, you guys remember they had the passenger, the Frog Mom passenger, and they managed to crash land on this particular planet. Now, they try to be funny, and I guess it's fun. I don't get sometimes why they want to make certain things funnier than they are, but let's say the Racer Crest made it and it crash landed and it was a humorous situation. Anyway, I'm going to skip a lot of stuff, because actually it was a short episode, but not, let's say a lot of redundant things happen. But anyway, we have the Frog Mom who manages to meet up with her frog husband, or frog dad, whatever, and it's a beautiful moment. And the frog dad takes Mando to a local restaurant, because he promises that he'll lead him to the Mandalorians on that planet. So he takes him to a restaurant, and the barkeep is like, hey, take a seat, I'll help you out. So Mando bribes him and into giving him information. Now, this is terrible negotiating. You don't pay your informants up front, all right? You try to haggle a little bit. And also, I'm not 100% sure, but I remember the first episode of The Mandalorian, and this is a lot of money. Like, this is a lot. I think it was a full bounty. So he just throws a bunch of money at a random stranger, and he doesn't even know if he doesn't know if he has the information. He doesn't know if the information is any good. So Crab Guy over here just basically takes the money. He's like, sure, he'll help you, and he points toward a Squid Guy, and the Squid Guy is like, sure, we'll take you out on our ship tomorrow. So they go out to sea, and basically it's a trap. So they throw Baby Yoda to be eaten by gigantic. They say the name of the beast. I don't even remember it, but he gets eaten along with its little incubator thing. So supposedly it's still alive. And so Mando jumps in to save him, and he gets trapped. Turns out that they wanted the metal in his armor because apparently it's super valuable. So this dude should really consider painting that thing so it doesn't look as valuable or whatever. It's not as shiny so it doesn't attract as much attention. But whatever. And while he's there, captured and trying not to die, bunch of Mandalorians show up and basically they rescue him. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna skip a bunch of stuff, but he gets they rescue him, they rescue Baby Yoda, and then they introduce themselves. So he gets rescued by 3 Mandalorians. This is very important, 3. And while he's thanking them for like, hey, thanks for saving me and the child and whatnot, they proceed to take off their helmets. And here we're introduced to Bo-Katan. So Bo-Katan, first off, is being played by none other than Katie Sackhoff. I know I rarely mention actors here, but this is Katie Sackhoff. For those of you who don't know, she is a Battlestar Galactica alum. She played Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica. She is awesome. And so I just had to mention that. Honestly, I don't care if anybody else cares. I've talked about Battlestar Galactica like quite a bit recently, so I felt important to mention it. Anyway, Starbuck shows up and she saved Mando, and Mando is kind of upset by the fact that they took off their helmets because he's like, what? You're not real Mandalorians, you took off your helmet. And here we learn something interesting. And this is something that had been bugging me throughout the show. Because I did not understand why Mando would not take off his helmet. It was very annoying because I've seen Jango Fett without a helmet. I've seen Boba Fett without a helmet, who are also Mandalorians. I've seen in the TV show Star Wars: The Clone Wars, you see a bunch of Mandalorians without helmets. So it was really weird. And it turns out there's a distinction. So these 3 right here are Mandalorians from Mandalore. Okay? They're from the planet Mandalore, and that's why they're Mandalorians. On the other hand, Mando here is a Mandalorian by creed. And here, again, we learn a little bit because Bo-Katan and her crew tell us that he is actually a child of the Watch. And for those of you who don't know, the Child of the Watch, according to Bo-Katan, is a cult of religious zealots, and their goal is to reestablish the ancient way. So, we clearly now understand that there's 2 different kinds of Mandalorians, at least. The old school Mandalorians, the old school religious zealot Mandalorians who recruit people and who follow a creed, a particular creed, which is the Mando, the Mando crew, and you have the Mandalorians from Mandalore who are slightly more modern and more pragmatic, and who do take off the helmets and are not and don't have as big of a stick up their butt. So that's an interesting fun fact that in case you care, but things are starting to make a little bit more sense. Anyway, so Mando's upset by this and says, you know what, screw you guys, you're not real, and you're not real Mandalorians, and he leaves basically. So then at night he gets attacked by more squid people, and he's like, you killed my brother, and he's like, no, I didn't. And so the other Mandalorians decide, well, the squid person shows up with more buddies, and they want to kill him. But the Mandalorians show up, and they rescue him again. So after rescuing him a second time, Mando is like, all right, fine. I'll have a beer with you guys. So they go and they have a conversation. And this is a conversation that's pretty interesting for several reasons. Well, first off, it's interesting that it looks like they went back to the bar where they were before. So you know where the bartender took a buttload of money to give him basically set him up for a trap? They went back to that bar. So if I'm Mando, I'd be pissed because I'd think that guy set me up. I'd think that guy took my money. So also, these dudes are hanging out at that exact bar without helmets. So literally, Mando didn't have to give the dude any money. He could have just shown up and been like, hey, have you guys seen some Mandalorians? And the bartender could have been like, yeah, sure, they come here all the time. They eat here. They hang out without helmets. So why this whole weird goose chase or sending Mando, out to sea to try to find somebody who are customers there? I don't understand. It was stupid. It was silly. And I guess it was just to kill time, or it was a setup for Mando, which again would lead me to think, fuck this particular bartender or fuck this particular restaurant owner. I'm going to kill him. Yeah, but then again, I guess I'm the paranoid person here. Anyway, so back to this particular conversation. It's interesting because here we learn that Mando is kind of backwards in a lot of things and also kind of a dumbass. Now, this is actually a trope in a lot of stories. Like, there's a particular trope in certain types of stories where the main character is kind of the dumbest character in the entire show, and it usually has to do with mysteries. And whenever it's a mystery, it's usually the main character that's always the one that's out of the loop. And Game of Thrones did this a lot. And I don't mean the show, well, not just the show. I mean in the books, every single point of view character is an idiot. Like, if you actually, there's a bunch of characters who actually know what's happening, and then there's the point of view characters who are a bunch of dumbasses who don't really know anything. And since the audience is following these dudes, you're like, why is a lot of this happening? So you put the pieces together, and it's kind of a mystery, and it's fun. It's just annoying that the main character doesn't know anything. Like, they're the dumbest person in that room, and everybody is looking kind of down at them. It's like, yeah, you're kind of ignorant here. And this is exactly what happens in this particular conversation. Because Mando believes that, they talk a little bit about the fall of Mandalore and the Purge, and it's very brief, but basically, Bo-Katan says, yeah, we want to steal a bunch of weapons so that we can retake Mandalore. And Mando's like, but that planet's cursed. Nothing can survive there. The Empire, since the Empire couldn't control it, they make sure that nothing can survive there. And Bo-Katan is and so you see that it's a lot of like really weird faith-based stuff, not exactly based on logic or science. And Bo-Katan is basically fake news. That's fake news. We're taking it back. Don't believe everything you see on television. Or what's that Kanye West quote? He did it in the music video for Runaway. First rule about this world, sweetheart: don't believe anything you see on the news. Anyway, so it's not as fun as fake news. Anyway, so they decide to make a deal, and the deal basically is, Mando, you help us steal. You see this ship that's filled with that's an Empire ship, and it's filled with weapons that they bought with money that they stole from our planet. So we're gonna go and we're gonna take some of those weapons. And Mando's like, all right, I guess I can do that. And in exchange for that, I will lead you to a Jedi. Because if you guys remember, Mando is trying to find a Jedi so that he can give Baby Yoda towards him. Because again, Mando is kind of a dumbass, and he thinks the Jedi. All right, this is not 100% confirmed yet, and I it's my theory. I think Mando thinks that Baby Yoda's species is a Jedi. So I think that he thinks that the species is that Baby Yoda's species, like the Jedi are a species, not a clan. Now, again, that's not confirmed, and if I'm pretty sure that they actually told him differently, but I would not be surprised in the next episode that he's like, oh, but you don't look the same or whatever. Well, I'll save that. I'll save that for later. It's just a theory. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Anyway, so he decides, all right, I'll help you guys out, and he finally smartly decides to leave Baby Yoda with Frog Mom while he goes out on this mission. And here we see that the Frog Mom and her eggs, one of them is actually hatching, and so we got a little tadpole floating around. Anyway, so the next day comes, and they decide the 4 Mandalorians attack this particular starship, and you see them here take out a couple of guards outside who are the most useless guards in the history of useless guards, because they weren't even trying to look out. They're outside in the sky. They weren't even hiding in the clouds. They could have just looked around. They would have seen like, oh shit, 4 Mandalorians coming. Let's just say some things annoy me. Anyway, so fortunately, one of them is able to send out an alert signal, and so the captain is like, what the fuck is that? We're under attack. So everybody go out there and fight. And so here we have a bunch of hallway fights, which are half cool, half annoying. So it looks kind of cool to see Mandalorians in action. It's just not what you expect. You expect them to be a little bit more badass, just a little bit more. And the Empire is a bunch of dumbasses. So here you see the Empire not even trying to take cover. You see all these bunch of stormtroopers. They're not even trying to take cover. It's pathetic. And they're fighting in a hallway. Then you see these Mandalorians. You see the Mandalorians taking cover at the start of a hallway, and the stormtroopers not taking any cover. Now, here's actually something that's kind of cool. You see them, they throw a little bit of smoke, a little bit of like a smoke grenade, and then they use heat vision to detect them. It's like, all right, that's actually a cool way to take them out. It was actually like a fun little, like a trick there. It was enjoyable, but still, at least try to take a little bit of cover. Try. Anyway, next we see we see them at the storage depot, a bunch of other troopers, and these dudes are charged with holding off the Mandalorians long enough for them to for the ship to make like the jump into hyperspace, right? And here you see 3 troopers, well, 2 troopers and an officer, clearly not even trying to take cover. Now there's 3 dudes back here who are actually taking cover, so good for them. These dudes aren't even trying. And so then the Mandalorians attack, and they come in. There's only one door for them to come in through. And so you see this dumbass over here standing here. No cover, no cover, no cover, no cover, no cover, no cover. So you got 1, 2, 6 dumbasses, no cover. And the ridiculous thing here is they knew where they were coming from. Like, there was one way for them to come in. One. And what happens here usually is I've talked about this in the Good, the Bad, and the Wolf. You use suppressor fire. You just blast the hell out of them so they can't move, so they're pinned down. Then, I don't know, you throw a grenade in there. In fact, as soon as the door opened, you should have already had a grenade ready to throw. Or you set up proximity mines or something. Point is, didn't work. And they slowed them down nada. So, fortunately, the Empire are a bunch of smart people. And so they decide, you know what, let's just close the blast doors. So they close the blast doors. And they lock themselves into the storage area. Unfortunately, the officer here realizes 1 second too late that... And actually, he doesn't exactly realize it. He informs the captain, oh yeah, we locked them in the security room before, and well, it turns out that they actually had access to the main door, and so they basically get blasted off into the sky. So they lock the dudes in the control room, and the control room opens the door to suck them out of the ship. And now here's something that's also very interesting. You see this guy here. Here's the officer. In his hand, he has the communication device, which he's using to speak to the captain with. It's very similar to the one that Luke Skywalker used with C-3PO, you know, when they're in the compressor room. It's like, 3PO! Come in, 3PO! 3PO! And it's the exact same device. Anyway, you see this guy, he has it in his left hand. And then you see this guy getting blasted off into the sky, right? Well, the next time you see that thing, it's in the hand of Bo-Katan. So somehow Bo-Katan ended up with that transmitter. That transmitter thing did not get blasted off into sky, and it ended up in Bo-Katan's hand. Weird. It's almost like if somebody fucked up. Anyway, so Bo-Katan basically starts talking with the captain. He says, we're coming for you, you asshole, because we're not just going to take a few of these weapons. We're going to take the whole ship. And the captain's like, bring it on, bitch. And Mando's like, whoa. I thought we were just stealing some guns here. I didn't think we were going to... By the way, that makes it even more stupid. The Empire, they were holding up in a storage area filled with weapons. So they had a whole bunch of weapons that they could, like big ass cannons and stuff they could have used against the Mandalorians, but they didn't. Why? Because they're dumbasses. Anyway, let's move on. And so Mando's like, whoa, we're not going to take the ship. And Bo-Katan basically is like, yeah, well, now we are. And if you don't help us, I won't give you the information. So this is the way. And so Mando is upset because it's like, you're changing the terms of our deal. Bo-Katan is like, well, this is the way. And so they decide to head off to the cockpit to try to steal the ship. In the meantime, the captain calls Moff Gideon. If you guys remember Moff Gideon, he's kind of the big bad here, the dude who has the Darksaber. Anyway, so they call Moff Gideon, and Moff Gideon basically says, yeah, they took the ship already. You know what to do. Just bring the ship down. And so the captain is like, all right. So he kills the pilots, and he starts bringing the ship down. As the ship's going down, you know, time is of the essence. And here, when the pressure is on, when the Mandalorians are against the clock because the ship is about to crash, we finally see the stupid stormtroopers be smart. So they're somewhat hiding behind a door, and they're using suppressor fire. So basically, they're shooting the hell out of their guns and in the direction of where the Mandalorians are coming, and that keeps them pinned down. It keeps them from being able to move forward in this particular hallway. So finally, it only took a dozen of them getting killed before they realized, hey, you know what? Maybe we should take cover here, guys. Maybe we should actually try using like some smart strategy here. Anyway, so as that's going on, pressure's coming up because they're going down faster and faster. So Mando decides, fuck this shit, and he activates 2 grenades and decides to basically tank his way through. Like, he tanks his way through the fire. He's like, all right, I got the Veskar armor. I'm just gonna tank my way through this. I'm gonna be El Pipila. And he goes over there and he throws grenades at the stormtroopers and blows them to smithereens. So there you go. I mean, nobody even tried to kick those things or, duck or whatever or shoot his legs. But it's fine. It's fine. Let's just say, you know what? It's a strategy. I mean, Ned Kelly did something similar. Ned Kelly walked out in the middle of a gun. Well, for those of you who don't know the story, Ned Kelly is probably the most famous Australian outlaw. And there's actually a movie with Heath Ledger, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, or if you want to read the book, Ned Kelly. But basically, on one of their stands, the dude created like a armor. Imagine like an Iron Man armor, but it's just basically you got a whole bunch of metal on you, and they went out in a gunfight that way. So it's kind of what Mando did here. Let's just say it was silly, not silly, but dumb, not recommended, whatever. I mean, there weren't very good options here. I would have done something different. Like we've already seen them use smoke grenades as a distraction, so maybe that could have worked here. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. It looked cool, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, so they make it to the cockpit, and Bo-Katan starts, having a conversation with the captain. In the meantime, Mando and another Mandalorian, they're trying to rectify the ship, and so Bo-Katan basically here we learn that she's trying to find Moff Gideon, and the reason why she wants to find Gideon is because he has the Darksaber. So she wants the Darksaber because it belongs to her. For those of you who don't remember, the Darksaber is, imagine a black lightsaber that looks kind of like a scimitar. It's actually pretty cool. It's probably the coolest lightsaber. Anyway, so, and they have a pretty interesting conversation. In the conversation, Bo-Katan basically tells the guy, tell me where, you lead me to where he is, and I'll let you live. And the other guy is like, fuck you, I'd rather die. Oh, by the way, they managed to save the ship. I forgot to mention that. They managed to save the ship from crashing. But the guy is like, screw you. Even if you let me live, he won't. And so he kills himself. Which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. I mean, it's like, I'm so afraid of that guy killing me, so I'm going to kill myself. So, all right. I mean, you do you, dude. And so he kind of like bites on what would be like an electric cyanide pill. I don't know what it is, but it's basically a suicide pill. Or there's like a suicide switch on one of his teeth. He does something, and he kills himself. So after that, Bo-Katan is like, all right, we're going to steal this ship. And Mando's like, all right, well, it was nice hanging out with you guys. Nice meeting you. Bo-Katan is like, all right, you actually will not forget your bravery. Thank you for your help. And this is the way. And so Mando and Bo-Katan kind of like leave in good terms because Bo-Katan now respects him a little bit more. And Mando starts seeing like, all right, maybe there's like a purpose to this whole thing. So they part in, let's say, in good ways that leave a door open for any future, collaborations. So Mando decides to leave, and he goes and picks up Baby Yoda, and Baby Yoda is playing with a baby frog. Again, with Frog Mom and Frog Dad. Mando takes him out of there, and we leave Frog Mom and Frog Dad with Frog Baby. Looks like that their story's over, and we won't see them again, so it's a happy ending for them. And Mando and Baby Yoda get back on their ship, and it looks like they will... Oh, I forgot one thing. One kind of important thing. So Bo-Katan tells Mando that she knows where to find a Jedi, and she sends him to a particular moon. And in that moon, she says specifically that he will find Ahsoka Tano. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ahsoka Tano is, basically, she used to be Anakin Skywalker's Padawan learner. So, theoretically, unless things go wrong in the next episode, we should be seeing Ahsoka Tano, and so I'll save Ahsoka Tano's stuff for another episode. But yeah, she sends him at least in Ahsoka Tano's direction. So there you go. That's it. That's I believe that's good enough for the summary. Let's go back to, let me just see. I gotta switch some stuff up here. So let's move on to The Good, the Bad, and The Mandalorian.
I like those odds.
All right, so I gotta switch out quick because again, I I got dinged last time. I don't want to get dinged again. But anyway, this is the good, the bad, and the Mandalorian, where I break down in the good the things that I liked from the episode, in the bad the things that I didn't like, and in the Mandalorian, I'll share a fun fact, which I kind of already told you what it was going to be about. Anyway, let's begin with the good. So let me make this a little bit bigger here. Let's go. So the good, Katie Sackhoff as freaking Bogutan was awesome casting. Perfect casting. Bogutan is kind of a bitch. Katie Sackhoff is a very likable bitch. So even if you go back to Battlestar Galactica, you love her and you hate her. She's annoying and she's inspiring. She's great. Honestly, excellent choice in casting. Probably my favorite casting choice in the entire show. You can tell I'm a fan. Well, not just because I'm a fan of Battlestar Galactica, because I think she's actually a decent actress and she fits the character like a freaking glove. Anyway, moving on. I liked that they're setting up differences between the Mandalorian crews. I really like that, and now they're making it a bigger, richer world, because before it's kind of like, everybody's the same. You assume that everybody's the same. No, they're starting to show you a lot of diversity in thought, in creeds, in ideology, which is great. This is something that you actually learn a lot in the series, The Clone Wars. Turns out that the galaxy is kind of a weird place, and they have a lot of weird people, and there's a lot of backstory, and there's a lot of resentment and everything. It's a very rich universe. And so it's good to see that the Mandalorian is starting to explore that particular area for the Mandalorian people. Before, honestly, you don't know much. You know very little. And like I said, Mando is kind of the most ignorant character here. He knows the least about the galaxy out of all the characters here. And so it's fun to see characters that actually know what's up and what the hell's going on. Also, their interaction was pretty great. I like how they're setting up this kind of 3-tiered arena in a way. I guess arena is a fair way of saying it. Because now you got the Mandalorians who have issues with the Empire. You have the Rebels who have issues with the Empire. You don't know exactly how the Rebels and the Mandalorians feel about each other. So I've always liked that. I like that when I don't like when it's just when it's two-sided. You know what's called when it's just two. There's a term for it. I can't remember. I like it when there's a third one thrown into the mix who it looks like they're on your side for a little bit, and then it turns out that they're on their own side and they kind of screw you over. The wild cards, I like the wild cards, and Mandalorians are clearly wild cards here. It also it's setting up for, unfortunately, it looks like it's setting up for this season. It's setting up for like a big I thought it was going to be a big confrontation between the Rebels and the Empire. Now you throw the Mandalorians into the mix. It could be a 3-way fight. It could be an alliance between the Rebels and the Mandalorians to take down the Empire, but they don't particularly like each other, so they're still going to screw each other over. So we don't know. Honestly, we don't know what the hell is going to happen, but I'm excited for it. It looks good. Like I said, they're making the universe way richer, way more complex, and those are all good things. Next, I like that Mando finally got a babysitter for Baby Yoda. Finally. Every single episode, he always takes the stupid kid to the most dangerous places when he could have just left him in the ship or left him with a babysitter. So, like Pello, he could have just left the Baby Yoda with her, but he didn't. So finally, he got a babysitter, and that kind of leads me to the bad. So, here, the Baby Yoda thing really annoys me. I hate that every single episode we're going to get a situation where Mando's in trouble because of Baby Yoda. It's, you think he'd learn. Now, to be fair, it could be possible that because of what happened earlier on the episode, he decided to get a babysitter, and now he learned. But literally every single episode, Mando is put in a crappy situation because he's trying to save Baby Yoda. It's like Popeye and Olive. Every single episode is the same thing. Now, it could be fun, but it also gets pretty old pretty quickly. It's just like Baby Yoda's just Mando's handicap, right? Like he needs a handicap or for some reason, or he's just running around with an anchor around his neck, which is annoying. And so hopefully they get rid of that. But yeah, that really bugged me. Like, do you just want to take down Mando? You just go after Baby Yoda. Easiest thing ever. It's annoying. Next, I don't like the way they're treating the Empire. Like, they're just a bunch of idiots. No cover. They got sucked out into the atmosphere because they didn't know that they could be sucked out because they locked themselves in the wrong room. It's stupid. They had no strategy. They had no training. They had no nothing. It's honestly, it's pathetic. And I've always talked about this. If you want to make a good story, you make the villains good. And you need a good villain, and that way, the better the villain is, the higher the hero has to rise, right? So that's making a villain that's an idiot, and so that your heroes can go through them very easily, annoys me. Like if these dudes would have actually been competent and it would have been difficult for the Mandalorians to go through, then you would have been like, man, those Mandalorians are really badass. Like they had to use smoke screen, and then they used the heat vision, which was really clever. They had to go through vents or whatever. They had to use the explosive. They had to use different strategies. It would have been a way more enjoyable episode because you would have been like, wow, they're in actual danger here. There's really no point in this episode when you're like, well, they're in danger, or there's no way they're not going to go through this, because they're dealing with a bunch of dumbasses. So if these are the antagonists of the show, it's not very impressive. Like the bar's really low. They need to do way better with the Empire, because this was just pathetic. You can't have a villain that's that pathetic. You just can't. Like the Tusken Raiders were more impressive. But anyway. Let's move on to... That was the bad. Let's move on to The Mandalorian. And obviously, like I promised, I'm going to talk about Bo-Katan. So, Bo-Katan, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch the Netflix... Oh, well, not the Netflix. The Disney animated show, Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Because there you will be introduced to Bo-Katan. Now, who is she? Bo-Katan is the sister of Countess Satine Kryze. And Countess Satine Kryze was actually kind of a... Let's say Obi-Wan's friend, really good friend, really friendly friend. It was always, they never crossed the line, but it looked like they kind of wanted to. It was interesting. And so she actually kind of teamed up with Obi-Wan after the death of Countess Satine. Obi-Wan and Bo-Katan kind of teamed up, because here's what happened on Mandalore. And this is something that's very important for you to understand. Bo-Katan, before... All right. This is kind of a complex story. So, Bo-Katan used to be a lieutenant for a group called Death Watch. Death Watch was a terrorist group. Death Watch believed in violence, while her sister, Duchess Satine, believed in pacifism, was a pacifist. And so they were like, no, Mandalorians are warriors, we should fight. And so, after teaming up with Darth Maul, Death Watch took over Mandalore. So they took over the planet from the pacifists. After they take over the planet from the pacifists, Darth Maul takes over Mandalore from Death Watch. And here's where Bo-Katan escapes. Now, she escapes. She helps Obi-Wan escape. And I don't want to do too many spoilers here, but in the final season of the show, and I highly recommend you watch that show, we learn that... basically, Ahsoka Tano, and who you will be meeting, or probably will be meeting in the next episode of The Mandalorian, and she's a big part of the retake of Mandalore. And it's kind of important because they have to take down Darth Maul. And the point is, the clones... All right, I get it, it's complicated, but this is important for you to understand what happened here. So, with the help of the clones and, the Republic, Bo-Katan is able to take back Mandalore from Darth Maul, right? And so she becomes the Mandalore, who is basically the supreme leader of the Mandalorians, or the undisputed leader of the Mandalorians, all right? So you're with me there. Unfortunately, if you guys remember, the clones become the Empire, right? The clones from the Republic become the Empire by the end of the Clone Wars. So the Empire... it has a lot of control over Mandalore. This is something that nobody really expected. And so Bo-Katan says, F you guys, you don't control us. And so the Empire basically kicked her out, and they put another clan to run things on Mandalore. Now, a lot of stuff happens. This is Star Wars Rebels, and basically, long story short, a particular Mandalorian, Ren, I believe is her name, Satine Ren, I think that's her name. She finds Bo-Katan, because she was looking for a Mandalorian worthy of wielding the Darksaber, and with the Darksaber, Bo-Katan uses that to rally the Mandalorians, and they retake Mandalore, and that's kind of where her story is confirmed that it's over. Now, after that, something happened that's known as the Purge, and at some point, I'm guessing Moff Gideon takes the Darksaber. Now, it's not exactly clear how or why that happens. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that kind of happens behind the scenes, and I'm doing my best to avoid certain spoilers here. Unfortunately, it's not possible. Like the Satine thing is not possible to avoid. But like I said, Bo-Katan is supposed to be the Mandalore. Her objective is to get back the planet of Mandalore that's apparently been made uninhabitable by the Empire. Now, we know that the vampire sent Moff Gideon, or we at least know that Moff Gideon is the person who has the Darksaber. So, how that came to be, we're not exactly sure. I'm hoping that at one episode of The Mandalorian, we'll get a flashback or something, or at least Bo-Katan will go a little bit more into the story. But that is how things came to be. Kind of like the short version there, which I think I did a fair enough job without actually spoiling everything, because again, I don't know everything and I can't really spoil it. But the most important thing here is watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Fantastic, particularly the final season. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, that's it for The Good, the Bad, and The Mandalorian, and that's kind of it for this show. What is happening with the audio here? Let me try to do something. All right, that helped. I need to stop. All right, sorry. I have no idea what the hell's happening. Do you guys hear anything? Give me a sec. All right, I'm sorry. That's driving me nuts. I don't know why this thing's not working, but I'll try to fix it. Anyway, that's it for today. That's it. You guys probably don't care, but I just had a whole bunch of issues going on. But that was it for today. As always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next time.